I am Dungeon Master, your guide in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, welcome everybody to another session of Valoris Tantibus, Ravenshade. We are at session 4. Past events, present entanglements. A little bit of recap from the last session. We found the party deep underwater, trying to figure out exactly where Shizuka is being pulled by their deity. They met a kraken, were able to successfully avoid death. Entering in, navigating through the watery tunnels, they discovered where Susano was being imprisoned. Also another mysterious character, a vulture-like being that instantly brought the party to their knees and offered a choice. Either leave or become cursed. Of course, the party chose to become cursed. Striking against the crystalline structure caused a ripple effect, damaging the ears and minds of the characters, but more importantly, driving something deep within Shizuka. Passing out, the party retreated back to their estate. They were met by, happen chance? Fate? Uncertain. But a dark-skinned man, blonde hair, was at their doorstep. They replied. They were the one who had sent the message and met with the party. Seems like they have maybe some unlikely allies with the circus folk. After that, another rapping at the door. A few mysterious characters appeared. They were only there for a moment, asking if they knew the whereabouts of Isao. All right, let's jump right into this. So, the party had decided to split up and do a few various things. Boris wanted to uncover some books, see if they could glean any insight onto what is happening. Hal decided to hit the streets, look for clues, maybe track down some bounties. Shizuka, lying there, recovering on one of the sofas, deep in dream. And Tanaka had gone off with Caspian on another adventure. I believe Muranaka decided to join in Hal, investigating on the streets. So let's go through some of these one by one. It will be a little out of sequence perhaps, but we'll get through it. We'll start with Hal and Muranaka. You guys hit the streets, trying to find out, track down some of these leads. Any particular one that struck your fancy?
I have two I particularly want to investigate. The first, as like a lead-in, is the disappearances.
Which disappearances? There were several.
So Kiev had told us about there had been a set of disappearances in one of the quarters of the city. So he had mentioned that one of the jobs was looking into that.
Okay. So
I wanted to ask around about that and use that as kind of a lead-in to if somebody had seen anything weird or a strange occurrence the night of the fight in the sky, other than the fight in the... So like similar to something crashing down, like what happened. I won't mention it, but like what happened at the docks. So essentially lead in with the kidnappings or the disappearances and play it off like I think they might be related.
I am with you. Any particular quarter that you guys wanted to investigate?
I don't remember the quarter that Kiev specifically said. Is that something that you could remind me of, or?
I could, yes. Okay. I believe he had mentioned the disappearances at the docks, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was the docks. That one actually might explain itself. You know, krakens and shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We can definitely investigate into that. As you guys move down to that quarter and start asking around, why don't you, anybody who's wanting to kind of hit up the people, make me some blind investigates. Go ahead and drop them in the bucket.
Investigation.
In retrospect, I'm probably not the best person to bring along for all this.
Neither am I. I have a -1.
No, due to the fact that it's like, you want to be like, just kind of allude to it. I'm like, hey, have you seen any gods falling from the sky recently?
Essentially, Hal is guiding the conversation, and he's, asking subtle questions, and then trying to show you the ropes of this kind of like more subtle questioning, maybe?
Yeah, good
like
cop,
it.
bad cop, kind of.
Good cop.
Smart cop, dumb cop.
Oh. All right. So, as you guys go about investigating here, you'll find out it seems it's mostly dock workers that have gone missing. At first, they thought that perhaps maybe they were drunkards, or just kind of with all the calamity going on in the city, that maybe they were just hitting the bars or ignoring work, trying to deal with things in their own way. But you'll hear from others, close companions of these missing individuals, that they're gone. They've gone by their homes, their apartments, and they are nowhere to be found. And it's like they upped and vanished. They didn't notice anything that seemed to be missing or packed, or even in a hurry. But they just seem to be missing. And now we'll get with your guys' rolls, and coincidentally, you both rolled the same value.
Oh, how bad?
Well, we'll get to that. But one thing that a lot of them had in common, aside from being dock workers, they were alluded to be very charismatic individuals. Those who kind of stood out, whether physically attractive, strong of arm, that sort of thing, or just very magnetic type personalities, those that others would typically flock to.
Ideas forming. Okay. That's not good.
And they've been missing for quite some time. And a little bonus, because you guys did roll a little well. You'll find out it seems that more and more people seem to be disappearing as time goes on. One of the kind of the foremans down at the dock, he mostly complains about the ships being wrecked and destroyed along with the cargo. But when you can keep him on topic, by his count, roughly 7 or 8 individuals have gone missing since.
Okay.
Since when?
Since the calamity over the arch, when the great lights battled in the sky.
Okay.
All right.
It's going to take up quite a bit of your time just trying to drag out some information. No really good leads, but at least you found some commonality, perhaps.
Did anybody mention other strange occurrences, kind of like something falling from the sky, aside from the night, aside from in the ocean?
Okay. Why don't you both make me one more investigate? Blind, please. All right. Muranaka, don't really follow up on anything else, kind of repeats of stories or something, things that they're off topic, so to speak. They're complaining about day-to-day their activities, their lives, about just how terrible things are. Nothing really information worthy. Hal, you find one old drunk man just kind of sitting there at the bar. He's whistling a tune, and you come up and ask about strange things going on, and he just straightens up in his seat. Muranaka, you will also see just that kind of sudden, kind of locked, tense, locked-jawed stance that this individual has as Hal is speaking to him.
As he kind of, jolts up, I think instinctively Muranaka will reach for his bow, then kind of, back off a bit.
Okay.
Because, just kind of startled him.
Indeed. You'll see a few eyes glance at you and then away once you kind of not ready your weapon, per se. The old man... you saw the light, didn't you?
I did see the lights in the sky.
Who didn't see them?
I was out far beyond the breakers, and I tell you, I saw something that no mortal should ever see.
What did you see?
Large tentacles. I swear I've never seen anything that big. As big as a fleet of galleons.
What he's describing the size of the Kraken?
Oh, no.
Bigger?
Oh, way bigger.
Okay, I think I know what's happening.
He takes another kind of shakily drink. It's just the whiskey or whatever kind of drips down his beard. Stay away from the sea. 'Tis no place. 'Tis no place.
Thank you for your time. And I'll put down a gold piece and flag the bartender to just keep bringing him drinks.
The bartender kind of nods at you. He may have different plans, but yeah. And as you guys kind of are exiting there, he's, if I were you, and he kind of stands up and makes a big scene out of this. I'd get inland as far as you can. Don't even look in that direction. And he takes another drink, and the bartender's like, tries to calm him down. Looks at you guys expectantly, get out of here. You guys are causing a scene.
Yeah, no, as soon as that, that's what that was said to my back on my way out the door.
Fair enough. All right. So you gained a little bit of knowledge there. And what was the second thing you were trying to uncover?
Oh, if there was anything else that fell out of the sky was the second thing I was trying to uncover.
The only thing that they really described was that beam of light, which you guys have heard the stories before. No one really...
Down at the docks.
Yeah, at the docks, yes. No one really saw... You guys know that something else had followed it. No one describes that. They only describe that blue beam of light.
Okay. And nobody else saw beams of light coming up from the ground or down from the sky during the night?
They did not. A lot of people saw the blue flash, but not the one that followed.
All right, then I'm gonna start heading back to the mansion.
Okay. And then we should be able to take care of Shizuka, Tanaka, and I know I had made some rolls previously for knowledge of what Boris was digging through the books.
Oh, is that the earlier rolls?
Yeah. So as you guys start to congregate back, many hours have been passed. You guys are way into the witching hours of the evening as you guys are all kind of tired and starting to rub, the sleepy dirt that's starting to form in your eyes and the dark circles underneath. Shizuka, you kind of awaken from your slumber, your nap, your torpor, and you have that vision very clear in your mind as it would have happened during that dreamlike state. About this time, Tanaka comes through the door. Naz did not return to him. Tanaka looks like he's got some nasty wounds as well. Even to the point where Boris would look up from his book and cast some sort of small spell to kind of help heal that wound.
What the hell happened to you?
Hey guys.
Holy shit.
What did you do?
I got one, I think. As Mako just like flops on the couch.
Yeah, just blood dripping
The
out
hole
even.
in the chest? Yeah, you certainly do.
Seriously, I take my eye off you for like a day and you come back almost dead.
Clearly, I went into town with the wrong person.
Context, that there needs to be some.
Maybe Caspian did this to him.
Shit.
I can explain. Just give. I need a moment.
So like, I'm all for like first dates being, you know, a bit rough, but not like this.
All right, well, Muranaka and I were able to find something out about the disappearances. I think they're related to what crashed down in the bay. Or rather, what happened to what crashed down in the bay. Speaking of Shizuka, you've been here this afternoon. Has Kiev come by? Or
I've
has
been
his
sleeping.
person-
Boris will say no. Kiev has not shown himself.
Must be tomorrow then. All right, I will speak somewhat veiledly. Essentially, 7 or 8 people have disappeared. Dock workers, all of them. And there was a fisherman who was far out in the sea. And when the beam of light and whatever crashed down with it, essentially intentionally not saying specific terms, there was something larger than what we ran past, with tentacles out in the ocean. He described it as large as a fleet of galleons.
Wait, like one tentacle was that large?
I don't know, a creature was that large.
Holy
As
shit!
big as
Either
a
way, I guess.
Fleet of galleons. He said tentacles everywhere.
It was huge.
The other thing,
Probably that Kraken thing then.
no.
This sounds a lot bigger than the one we saw.
The other thing is, the people being taken are those. They're all dock workers, and they're all the type who would catch your eye. The more attractive sort, the more charismatic sort.
What?
That's a weird distinction.
Yeah.
I think it's out of character. I think it's warlocks. I don't know how you would say that in game.
Out of character, I wasn't gonna say that.
But I don't know. I don't know what the terminology would be in game for that. I think.
So you think that they're being pulled away by some sort of power? They're drawn to an otherworldly power.
I think it's people being drawn in by power, not actually being taken. There would be a trace if something was taking them. I think it's whatever's in the ocean. We heard that Kraken say its master had come down, is returning. I think they're being offered power. A power from the sea. It would be sailors and dock workers. It's what they would desire most. The power of the ocean.
You mean something? You mean something kind of like the Blades?
Something like that, but maybe not the Blades. Something similar to what you have, where you form a pact and gain a weapon. I think it's similar to that, but with whatever's out in the ocean.
So that's okay. So it's between Master Kikobu and whatever this is. That's a lot of sources of power being offered around.
Well, I think it's a source of power that was held back by the spirit of the ocean. Give you a glare.
What about...
Look, man.
I think that with that power vacuum, other things are coming to the surface.
Well, without Susanna to actually keep them in check, of course they would make their move.
Yeah, but I think they're building their forces. They've been gone for days or weeks, and they're increasing. 8 so far.
Yeah,
maybe
you would
7.
put it at days.
Oh,
Roughly
days? Okay.
7 days or so.
But they've been missing a week, not without a trace.
How long has it been since that clash in the sky?
A little over a week.
Well,
Timeline makes sense.
Sorry, it's just like I have a headache.
As more of that dreamlike state kind of dances around in your head. As you guys look upon Shizuka, you can see that they're just removed from, almost kind of staring through you guys with that glassy-eyed look, and they kind of snap out of it again.
Have you been sleeping at least?
Does having nightmares count?
You look exhausted. Well, how vivid? Like visions or like regular nightmares?
Yeah, you could say visions. I actually see things in them.
Like what?
Okay, so first things first, it starts off, like a normal field. Bright sunny day, things look nice. And then all of a sudden you're surrounded by like these creepy people wearing rags. And they're all talking and cursing at each other for some reason.
Did they
don't
look like the one? Did they look like the one we ran into?
One did.
What? Do you understand what they're saying?
No, I couldn't make anything out. They were hexing each other actually. So magic, perhaps?
So they were fighting.
Yeah.
Vying for supremacy.
And the thing is, there was I remember 13 of them, all of them wearing these black hoods.
And you said one was feathered, like what we saw in the bay.
One of them was.
Could you see features of the others? Or just black hooded figures?
There were black hooded figures. There was a 14th that stood against them.
When you say that, the vision comes to your mind and it settles on one person. Kikobu. Everyone would see kind of Shizuka in middle of explaining, just pause, and then that light bulb goes off in their head.
And she right, so it was Kikobu standing against these 13 hooded figures. And yet for some reason, one by one, they turned into dust. Which is weird.
I don't know if that sounds promising or ominous.
And the thing is, so here's the thing about visions and whatnot. You can't physically interact with them because you're not part of it, right?
I mean, I've never had visions, so unclear.
Yeah, I mean, usually when Master wants something from me, she tells me pretty directly.
Yeah, but so imagine you as the viewer feel your own energy leaving you.
Sounds bad.
That does sound bad.
And it coalesced all around Kikobu. And yet, for some reason, it's it's weird because normally when you're just watching something, you don't get an emotion from it, but you know how when a person just gathering all sorts of energy, there's going to be another that wants it for themselves, right? Like that greed, that sense of envy. Imagine those 13 figures was emanating that same emotion that I could pick up on. And yet, because of that, they began to change into that being that we saw.
So they all turned into that?
Well, I saw one of them at least turn into that. Like, I could see the beak and the feathers sticking out.
Boris will ask a question. These other figures, what did they look like before they changed?
They had... I couldn't see much of them other than the fact that they had, like, pointed ears, almost elven.
Ears like an elf, but very long?
Yeah.
He gets up from the table and starts to go through a couple stacks of books he had. And no, it wasn't a book. And he goes over and finds a scroll, and no, that's not it. After a few moments, he comes back with one and kind of clears everything off the table and just kind of unrolls this parchment. It's a like a drawing or painting. It's old. It's partially there, but as he unrolls it, you can see a great scene. You see these elf-like creatures, but their ears are vastly longer than any elf that you've ever seen. They had almost like golden skin, and you can see it kind of encircled around a dark-haired woman just standing in the middle of a meadow.
Huh.
Like this?
Yeah, actually.
Is that the meadow you saw?
I'm not sure meadow 1-for-1, but it did seem similar to it.
What does that book say, Boris?
It's a scroll, but
Or what does
he kind of looks and he looks around. Does anyone have a magnifying glass?
Do I have a magnifying
I
glass?
don't think anybody does.
I have really good eyesight.
This is a magnifying glass.
Can
Okay.
I just go over and take a look?
Yeah, perception.
Okie doke. Skills, perception. I hope this goes well. Ooh.
You can't make out the author or the artist, but you do find a title for this. Division of the Elves.
Division of the Elves. Interesting.
You say that aloud?
I do, yeah.
Boris kind of scratches his head, heads over to another book, and it's going to take him a few minutes. Go ahead and discuss.
Can I roll history?
Yeah,
Is this like a historic
it
event?
absolutely is.
Division of the Elves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Throw it in the bucket.
Okay.
In case I've heard anything. History of the Elves.
You remember a very small story, and it was interesting to you. Is your character kind of a history buff?
Not too much of a history buff, but he does like battles.
Okay, perfect. So you do remember a story, a great battle of when the elves turned against each other. Now, you also recall a story predating this, back in the First Age, when elves were first born. You remember a story about when the Golden Emperor was around. There were several people that just did not want to have anything to do with him or his ambitions. So they left. That group of humanity split off and went into the wilds. And over time, it's said that they started to physically change to become more in tune with nature. Most people who would know this knowledge would equate it to the birthing of the elves, so to speak. That kind of correlates in with this. If that were true, these elves, if they also split, you remember hearing a story of this battle, and two distinct words just ring true to you. Shadar Kai, Lachey.
Shadar, Kai, and Lachey.
Mm-hmm.
Something up, Marinaka?
Do you know these names?
He's going to, like, sit there and kind of stroke his chin. He's be like, I remember something about this battle. Yes, between the elves. Almost as if it were the creation of the elves. And I'm going to relay the information to them about what Muranaka knows. He says, yes, I am somewhat interested in warfare, as it were.
So then what you're saying is that, much like how the elves split off from humans because they didn't want anything to do with the Golden Emperor, this other set of elves split off from the regular elves. Interesting.
That is
like
what I remember.
So wait, was it like a schism or a civil war?
Great battle. So
don't know.
Great battle ending in a schism, perhaps.
Huh.
it's funny because I'm sure Boris will start to think about the past here in Tantibus, about the great schism that happened within the church. They'll say, it's kind of interesting how history seems to be repeating itself.
By the way, Boris. While you're reading, did you ever figure out what a Nagpa is?
No, I did not come across that, but as he kind of flips through, he will find a very short blurb about these two races of elves. It is said, and it's written in more of a kind of fictional prose piece. Think of like the Iliad or something like that, a great bardic tale. And it basically describes this woman who comes in to this community, and although it was not her intent, caused a great chasm between the two people, between the half of the elves that loved her dearly and the other half of the elves that despised her. In the end, basically, big magic happened. It's not very specific, as it's in very, very much like prose. But at the end of the day, this woman is said to have given her life to protect her people. But those who were against her were also malformed by this magic.
It doesn't say how?
It does not. It's just, just maybe like a 10-line stanza.
So, if we go on that, the Nagpa are these deformed elves. Ancient, they survived this battle. They were potentially the aggressors. If it's Kikobu standing against them, the Queen of Ravens standing against them, perhaps it was either an emissary of hers, or it was she herself who stood against them then?
It could be.
Some great ritual to save her people, resulting in her death and ascension? I don't know. Or it's somebody else entirely. Unclear.
To find out more, as Boris has gone through a lot of these books, obviously you guys could attempt to assist. You're either going to need somebody who has very good knowledge of this, a professional historian, or you could ask the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of going back there. That seems like a way to get murderified.
Wait, back where? I want to double check what you're thinking there.
the big there in the sky at the top of the ring.
Okay. For a second, I thought you meant in that underwater ruin, and I'm like,
oh God, no. No, I'm not dealing with that Kraken again unless we're like level 20. Atherin, any chance of us being level 20 by the end of this session?
Here, let me roll.
I assume
if I roll a
it's
30,
no.
you guys will be.
Yeah, seemed unlikely. That said, we could pass some information on to Kiev about the disappearances. He might be willing to trade some information for it, as I don't think that's going to be one that's resolved anytime soon. He also might have some information about whatever is out there. He does thrive on information, anyway. We could also investigate the third thing. Out of character, what was the third thing he asked us to investigate? There was the giant person, which we think is resolved.
You haven't found any more leads per se.
Okay. Well, there were three jobs. It was the disappearances, the very large person, and
I think
and the man at the museum.
Yes.
Which we already investigated, and it's almost definitely Maldark. Which we could look more into Maldark. Or we could start looking more into the whole religion thing. But if these Nagpa then come into communities and try to tear them apart, cause schisms, then it's also possible that they were the ones responsible for the schism in the church, setting up a false deity, or a pseudo-false deity, to gain power from worship. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Oh, I meant to Everett.
Mm-hmm.
I was in character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
The question then is, did they set one of their own up as this false deity? Or did they set themselves up as these false deities? Ooh. If they're normally very deformed, is it possible that they are posing as people of power and position within society?
I mean, they could be.
We should keep an ear to the ground. You said you killed one of them, right?
Who said
you
that
talking
now?
to me?
Makoto?
All eyes focus on Makoto.
You said you got one?
Makoto just struggles to sit up in the couch. Right.
Oh, story time?
Story time. Do any of you have a drink first?
I think I still have some whiskey in my bag.
Could I have that whiskey?
I think I have a bottle of whiskey.
There's so much drama going on. Boris is actually smoking inside.
We also have, I think as part of our bar, fancy booze.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever see, rich people in TV shows where they have, the little bar of, fancy whiskey and other fancy alcohol in,
Look, motherfucker, just give me some.
Yeah, I give you some whiskey. I pour you some whiskey.
This whiskey
Okay,
has a label. It's called Top Shelf.
Cost 5 cents.
Alright, Makoto's just gonna take a swig straight from the bottle. And then, I guess place it on, there's probably a table,
Mhm.
one of those short tables right next to the couch. So, I got bad news and I got good news. The bad news is there's a lot of those vulture things that we saw in that ruin.
Ew.
Okay.
They're
also really damn strong.
I mean,
So
I
the
figured that
next
out
question
from
is,
there.
you know this how?
Makoto's just gonna look at Shizuka and be like, take a wild guess.
I mean, I figured out.
You never take me anywhere.
I figured out.
You have prophetic visions.
Honestly, I figured out that they were strong from the fact that they could contain a deity. That part made sense.
I mean, well, if you think about it, enough people doing a ritual and a lot of things can happen.
True, they also
Maldark wasn't very powerful, but he still summoned the Raven Queen. Somehow.
True.
But anyway, I found a circle where they were convening through some kind of communication magic with Mako takes another swig. It's the friends of that fine gentleman who showed up at our house last night. One of them's dead now.
Oh.
Where was this circle?
House Solarian.
A noble house. That makes sense.
In the basement. In that panic... That... with the only entryway being that panic room we never went in.
Of fucking course. That kind of... And you said you then killed one of these things?
That is the good news.
Okay.
We may have... That group lost one of their own, but we did manage to kill the fucker who did it.
So then my thought is... we keep an eye out for... or I guess keep an ear to the ground for any disappearances of, people associated with House Malarian.
Out of character, I do have to know, Atherin.
Mm-hmm.
Did House Larian catch fire?
It did not.
Like entirely?
It did not.
Okay.
No, not at all.
My thought being that if they're posing as noble people... Sorry, I sneezed. If they're posing as nobles, then either somebody else would have to fill in, or someone will disappear.
Well,
or, considering the location, they may have been associated with the... They may have previously been associated with the Brotherhood of Midnight.
Oh, almost definitely. I could very much see if they are the ones who manipulated him into doing what he did. Bringing the gods forth, essentially lied to him to bring the gods forth so that they could take their power.
Yeah. This circle of vulture people, whatever they are, they mentioned the Lord of the Storms, the fiery one, the silvery one. And I don't remember what they said about Kikobu, but they sounded really pissed off about her.
they used the name Ensetsu.
Which is one of the names that we know for her, right?
Correct.
Oh, that is... yeah.
So... it's possible that she's the one who has always kept them at bay. So she's their real target, or is avoiding them by still residing in her home as she was the winner, the victor.
That, or I may have accidentally stumbled upon we may have accidentally stumbled upon the reason why she was considering blowing the whole fucking city up.
That's very possible. That also does tie into the false gods, if that's their doing. Essentially, they can operate under the radar. They gain their power similar to how a god would by belief, prayer, servitude, etc., posing as figures likely of the clerisy, possibly of the Tenyo or the entire, any position of power, really. Interesting.
That said, I think we should work more closely with these people from the circus as well from now on.
How do they feel about what is in this place the equivalent of blasphemy?
Well, Yare met Caspian. You know how he feels.
Yeah. What about the rest of them? How do they feel about what they've been taught to believe are false gods?
I didn't say anything about that to them, but more importantly, one of them died fighting our battle.
True.
We owe it to them.
We do
to
indeed.
at least help them.
And I assume at this point they probably want revenge, which works in our favor, as
Caspian sure as shit wanted revenge in the first place.
Then yeah, I agree. We should try to work more closely with them.
As soon as those hags or whatever mentioned Amaterasu, I could not come up with a reason to keep Caspian from attacking himself.
All right. Then. Oh, what were you going to say, Shizuka?
So, do you believe his claim of being Amaterasu's child?
I do. He seemed sincere, had no reason to lie.
If he was lying, he wouldn't have had a reason to attack. But he did.
I can also say, I'm not always the best at reading people, but I have a good feeling. He seemed sincere. He definitely wasn't lying. Holding information back, certainly, but he was not lying.
To be fair, we also held information back. But of course we did, and of course he did. We're in Tantibus.
Hazard of the environment, yes. We should give them a key. They can use this place as a refuge, if absolutely necessary.
Well, they do have a pretty good setup going.
They do. The circus is... you can hide very easily in plain sight, but it might not be a bad idea for them to have access to this place and our resources.
A second safe house, in other words.
Indeed, right. A place that nobody would look for them, because obviously people may look for them.
They're not nobles.
No. One, so this would be the last place someone would look for them. But two,
exactly.
The first place they would look is the circus. So if
exactly.
No, this is not a bad place.
No, I was saying they're not nobles as a reason why this is a good hiding spot.
True. Can the parchment thingies carry something like a key with them?
How about I just give them a key?
Or that,
unsure.
Yeah. Okay, let's not risk that.
I know exactly where they are. I can give them keys.
Yeah, and give them at least one key where they can use to lay low here if necessary. They know where we are, and let them know that we will aid in this endeavor.
As you guys are discussing, Makoto, your ears will perk up, and Hal, you just from your passive perception will notice a very faint rapping at the door. You don't know how long it's been going on, but during just a small quiet in your conversation, a small break, you hear this faint tapping.
I go answer the door.
Yeah, can you get that? I want to lie down again.
All right, Hal, you go over and you open the door, and at first you don't see anything, and then you look down and you hear a voice, a very familiar voice. Hi, Hal. You see Isao sitting down. He's got just almost like he was tore to ribbons, like he was encaged with 2 tigers. You don't know how he managed to crawl or stumble his way here, but he is lying bleeding at your doorstep.
I help him up and just whistle as loud as I can and kick the door, help him in, kick the door closed, and yell for Boris.
Okay. Boris looks up, sees you two coming in. His eyes start to bulge out of his head as he prepares a healing magic as he's walking across the room, trying to stabilize and help Isao. I imagine you set him down on one of the sofas or chair.
Sofa, table, whatever is closest, someplace that he can sit and rest, and we can tend to his wounds.
You see, again, his high collar has also been ripped to shreds, and you can see for the first time that mark that stretches around his neck. He's normally a pretty melancholy individual, but you can just see the depths of his sadness tonight.
What happened to you?
I couldn't protect them.
Does this have to do with the people who came here looking for you?
He tries to catch his breath. Even that little bit of speaking has taken a lot out of him. Man, Golden Mask.
Yep.
They have official sanctions. Paperwork.
What?
I didn't care. I tried to drive them off. I tried to protect them, but they took the children. Those cursed like me.
Sounds like that report we got from Kiev was accurate.
I'm sorry. We should have warned you. We should have tried to come help you.
He will look Boris dead in the eyes. Your church is evil. He'll half faint. He's still cognizant, but he kind of leans back in the chair. Silence fills the room.
Shit.
I won't sit by while
What is
children
going on in this town?
Who are they sanctioned by?
Sounds like
All
sounds like they were sanctioned by the clerisy.
Not just the clerisy. The Tenyo.
Wait.
I saw their signatures. It was official.
What do the Tenyu stand to gain from?
They're rooting out. They're rooting out dissenters. Those they decide don't deserve to be here.
It's
Bastards.
a power move by the church.
I think it's time you explain the mark.
Isao will go into a bit of explanation. Starts off when he was young. He describes himself as a very energetic youth, always kind of sticking his nose in the wrong place, but trying to do good things. If there were people in need, just the Boy Scout type mentality, right? And all of that changed one day. See, he found himself in the church. His family were very religious, but very in tune with the kami. And he and some other kids were playing and hide and seek, of all games. And he found a very good hiding spot. In fact, no one could find him for several days.
Oh, dear.
Muranaka's like, oh, you're very good.
You're
So
very good at hide and seek.
And that's when they came for him. You see, after some time, he couldn't find his way back out. And there weren't a lot of passerbys to ask for aid, any of the clergy there. And so he naturally started to investigate. You can see him fighting in his mind, and the more specific the detail, the more the tattoo starts to faintly glow like this blackish white sort of radiance around his neck, like it's actively fighting against him.
Oh, like there's something to try to prevent him from telling the story.
That's what it would seem like. And he remembers a chamber of glass and bubbling water, naked bodies, and he remembers, and this will be his last words, he says, and he opens his eyes very wide, sits up in the chair. I remember the hive. And he passes out.
Well, I think I know where we need to go. Where this false god resides.
What does he mean by the hive? What's he talking about?
That's what I'm concerned of.
Okay, you guys don't know. I thought it was one of these things that I should know.
No, this is completely new to us.
Okay.
Boris, was there anything in those books, anything at all, about a hive?
No, of course not.
Anything in your religion?
No, of course not. Why would there be?
Boris looks incredulously at Esau, kind of lying there, almost maybe in disbelief that his... I mean, he obviously has ties to the church, but he's a little loose, fast and loose when it comes to certain things. But I imagine Boris might not take Esau at face value at this. If it were Petrovich here, he would have been furious.
Probably execute on the spot. For heresy. Boris, have you ever been below the church? Are you allowed below the church?
It is absolutely forbidden.
Then that's where it is. It has to be.
Right. Like, this is
You're
just...
forbidden from going beneath your own church, seeing the workings of your own church.
He will tell you there are those that are allowed, but not one of his station. In fact, he 2 seconds. Where's my note? He will tell you that he has never actually seen the leader of his order.
Which further leads to the credence to my question earlier. Who are your gods? You've never given me a straight answer.
He doesn't know.
I'm willing to believe that that divine energy that they gather is somewhat of a farce.
So I think Boris at this point would... I mean, of course, he'll recite off, the major pantheon of Juliar and Krishnev. And you don't think he's without belief in the kami, especially with what he says. He's less reluctant, I think, to talk about them amongst you all. But for him to outright say that he believes in them, per se, enough to worship them, it's probably a strange feeling for him. Maybe the clerisy is not divulging all the information, but again, it's not really something for someone at his station to know. he's not very high in the ranks.
Hmm.
I don't like this.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Again, he will elaborate how the great schism in the church has changed a great many things.
Then do we need to... I think we might need to start investigating. It's going to be dangerous. Sal was branded, and somebody was sent to kill him because of what he saw. I think whatever that mark is, it's enchanted. And
so I do want to clarify one thing. You would think that Sal interjected himself on behalf of the children. They were there for the kids. He was protecting them because they were also branded.
Right. Okay. He interjected on behalf of them then, but they're willing to take children.
Like Shizuka's eyes actively just like twitches at that.
And his brand, they're prevented from talking about what they see. Pain to the point of passing out.
Yes. You imagine a lesser man, a man that you met many, many months ago, probably would not have had the strength to even talk about this at this point, but times have changed. Adventure, traveling can change a man.
Explains why it was always so cagey about the details.
Yeah. So now, what's our game plan now? We can't just storm their temple.
Yeah, Boris will tell you that's absolute suicide.
I have half a mind to, but...
Yeah, I don't think storming the temple is an option, but... we don't have a ton of time.
Here's the title that I had forgotten to say earlier. Let me spell it. High Clerus Zephental. That is the official leader of their order. Although politically they're represented by Marquess Katya.
Well...
Does Boris know anybody who has ever personally seen the High Clerist?
No. He would say if anyone, it would be either Anton or... name hasn't come up a lot. I'll pull the name here in just a second. Obviously, the Marquess would have, as well as... sorry, I'm just going to name drop. I think it's Dukar Casimir. Yes.
So essentially the two clerisy reps on the
I'll drop some pictures.
I mean, he just looks evil.
I have them here, I swear.
He's wearing a...
Haven't we seen these people before?
They're the leaders of the city.
Who?
Because they knocked on our door, didn't they?
I don't...
Wait, is these the Tenyo, or at least?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're the clerisy reps on the tenure.
Hmm.
So
When
we
is
saw them.
When is Kiev's buddy gonna get here?
I had thought he said today. Maybe tomorrow, though.
Well, he needs to hurry the fuck up.
If they don't come tonight, we also need to talk to Kiev. I need to let him know what I think is going on with the disappearances.
Well, I thought you were going to mention the clerisy, because...
Oh, gods no. That information is way too valuable. But no, he had asked us to look into the disappearances as well as the man in... Oh, and the man in the museum.
I regret to inform you that we do not have the bargaining chip of that information.
Of which information?
Kiev already knows there's something up with the clerisy.
Of course he does, obviously.
Yeah.
But
He asked me specifically to find out more details for infiltration.
Oh, dear gods. Where did you infiltrate?
I didn't yet.
Oh. Well, I guess we
I'm
could
waiting for the details.
We have.
I'm waiting for the details on that.
Ah, well. Maybe
It should be coming
details.
with our little private ward.
I see.
I want to keep that on the down low because I didn't feel like it concerned the rest of you, but now it does.
Convenient how things tend to line up, isn't it?
Annoyingly so.
It's like someone super intelligent and devious is pulling the strings.
Like some sort of dungeon master.
If only there was some way we could contact him.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the dungeon master, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I picked up on that.
I'm talking about Kiev.
Well, I'm not the one with the book.
I'm also not the one with the book.
I have it. The thing is sending a message even safe anymore?
Somebody knows the answer to that.
I mean, we did have a message get killed by another message.
Yeah. Wait, what? When was this?
Last week.
Not
Last
last
session. Last session.
Oh yeah, yesterday, this morning, last night. Last night. It was last night.
Was that when I was asleep?
Yes.
What
It was
the
the message
hell?
about where Asal was. It killed another message that I don't know the origin of.
I'm pretty sure that message was from Kiev though, because I forgot to mention this. Kiev stopped by the circus when I was there.
The message
And he-
from about Asal was?
Yeah, he mentioned Isao again.
Alright,
Did
well,
they-
we need that ward as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We need to be able to put Asal someplace that they're not going to find him.
All right, so what's the plan? Gonna go track down Kiev?
I'm going to ask everyone. So this Isao person, why is he so important?
Well, he traveled with us for one.
He's a friend.
Yes, I gathered that, but you seem to be putting a lot of importance on him, and I feel like I'm missing something.
He's at the core of all of this. Whatever falsities are at the center of the clerisy, of the religion.
He knows them.
He knows them and is unable to speak them.
Ah, I see. So he has information.
Correct.
Information as well as being a target of those who don't want that information out. And if somebody doesn't want me to have information, I want that information all the more.
Yes. The branding around his neck is believed to have been done by the clerisy to protect themselves against those who know too much. It's like a magical binding. Whenever they start to remember or speak, it seems like the magic start to activate and prevent that user from remembering or speaking. But somehow Asao was able to pull some of the pieces out.
Does Boris have access? It's a cleric spell. Remove curse is a cleric spell, right? I know it only temporarily disables a curse, but...
Let me see. PC.
Essentially, in character, I would ask, do any of us have the ability to maybe temporarily lessen the curse?
I used to.
Maybe be able to allow him to speak more on this, give us more information without, passing out from the pain.
You want to give me a moment to take a nap?
Closest thing he has is Zone of Truth, Dispel Magic. That's about it.
We could try to dispel it, but that would immediately alert them, most likely, that the spell had been removed.
Dispel Magic is also a pretty common spell amongst casters. So if that were to work, their wards would not be very great.
And I doubt that nobody's tried that before. And even if it works, they would know that we did something. They would know what happened almost immediately. So we could try to, if one of us has the ability to, he described it as a curse. If it is indeed a curse, we could maybe lessen its effects for a short time. Possibly, I don't know.
Is it possible? Zone of Dead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
We can now.
Shizuka actually starts thinking, Makoto, would it actually be possible to just create a zone of dead magic, have him tell us his story there because he wouldn't be affected by it?
You are asking the wrong person that question.
We'd need a mage for that. Looks at Shizuka.
More to the point, I don't fucking know.
I legitimately don't know how this works. We don't know if it's always magical. We don't know if it's physiological. It's obviously there's some kind of magic involved, but we don't know any of the details. For all I know, trying to remove it or prevent its effects
might kill him.
It comes down to what he's willing to risk. If it could help those children, I assume he'd be willing to risk it, as he was already willing to risk his life for them. But I don't know what anything will do. That's why I'm asking. Because if somebody could at least lessen the effects, he could get more of the story out without passing out. But It's his call. It's Asao's call. So for now, he needs to rest. And we need to hide him.
Those who are proficient, does anybody proficient in Arcana?
No.
Nope.
I have to check. Skills. Yeah, I have proficiency in Arcana.
Okay, make me a blind roll.
Okie dokie.
Wouldn't it be great if we had Naz right now?
Yeah.
Right. So as you guys are kind of spitballing ideas, one thing that you don't know if it'll work or not, Shizuka, but perhaps the magic that was cast is only bound to the realm that it was casted.
Oh.
Shizuka, I have an idea. You may not like it.
Just based entirely on that warning, I already don't like it.
We may have to ask Kikobu for another favor.
I don't like it.
You do have another avenue.
Do we?
Yes. Remember where you were in a different place for 3 days?
We could seek them out.
That's fucking Clever. Oh my god.
Hey, as a thought, maybe we should wait till he recovers before we do that.
Yes, obviously, but we also need a place that he can lay low here, but it would be better if we had warding.
Yeah, somebody is definitely going to have to speak to Kiev about that.
Well,
would I know if Kiev is always at the shop?
You have never known him to be outside of it.
Okay.
It would be very odd to see him outside of it.
I saw him outside his shop exactly once, and he was acting like a completely different person.
Have we been to his shop at night?
Certainly.
Uh-oh. Getting called out.
Okay.
I'll be back later.
Understood.
We visited his shop at night, right?
Oh, definitely. You would have at some point.
I'm going to go to his shop.
Keep in mind, it is incredibly late at night. You can do so.
Have we been to his shop this late at night before?
You don't think so?
Okay, we'll wait until the morning.
I mean, it's up to you. I'm just letting you know that it is way past your guys' bedtime.
No, I don't want to raise any red flags with the guards.
Okay.
Any more that we have currently.
Let's sleep.
Yes.
Contact Kiev in the morning if he doesn't show up in the morning. That said, we should keep watch. I'll stand the first watch and guard Asao in case they come back.
Okay. Muranaka, I believe, would probably volunteer as well. Any objections?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Only 2 watches? Okay.
Well, I didn't know who else would.
Other people can do watches if they want.
Oh.
Makoto don't, because you're real fucked up.
Yeah, you probably
Really?
should.
Then Shizuka and Boris would be
Boris
the
is probably the ideal candidate, as Shizuka's still kind of reeling from the effect. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll personally ask Boris if he can take the final watch.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue.
Also, just I don't think it matters too much, but for the record, Makoto's disguise magic just dropped as soon as he flopped on the couch.
Oh, awesome. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Be back about 10 till the hour, and then we'll have a little meeting with Kiev.
Ooh, fancy.
And I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you.
By the way, Atherin,
Mm-hmm.
I still have haste. I think that's incorrect.
Oh, yeah, I'll remove that. McCoy's like, oh, so nice to see you guys. Zipping around with your wounds. Let's see. You guys would have taken a long rest.
My hit points are back.
Yay. Feels good. All right.
My hit dice are back.
Half of them. At most.
I only used half.
No, then you're good.
Yes, those adversaries were quite devastating to your hit point pool. Still got a couple minutes here until the others arrive.
Fucking. Oh, and obviously would have cleaned the couch with prestidigitation because I don't think we need bloodstains all over it.
Yeah, as you failed to lay down newspaper.
I still think the funniest was when Kiev brought us the coal to run everything, and we're like, oh, we might have to cook on a wood stove. How horrifyingly terrible.
Oh. First world problems.
Ah, yes, in our brand new house, we won't be able to use any of the magical facilities we have never had before.
I mean, we could it's not like we need a pilot light to light the oven anyway. We literally have two people that can just, throw a bit of fire in there.
Yeah.
Indeed. Is everybody back?
Shizuka never left, and Ryukin's still on a call, so...
Okay,
yes,
so
I
that
think so.
should be everybody here. All right, so morning comes, and you guys make your way to Kiev's shop. He, of course, is standing there behind the counter. He looks like he's going through a ledger at the moment. You guys come in, the statue lights up as per normal, and he says, "Oh, friends, it is good to see you."
Hey, you feel...
How you doing?
I feel great, and you?
You feeling better?
He kind of looks at you questioningly. I guess so.
You were really out of it last I saw you.
Yes, it is so strange. I still have not found the source of what is causing such commotion with the messaging spells.
Yeah, we had one kill another at our door?
Yes, I heard it. It's quite strange.
Was the other one from you, or did you only send us the one message?
I only sent the one.
Well, on a different note, I think I've found some information that will be of use about the disappearances.
He stops writing in his ledger. Kiev is all ears.
So I asked around at the docks. You already know the generalized details. 7 or 8 people missing at this point over the past few days, maybe a week, that they've been missing. But there's some additional information. First is that most of the people who went missing, or rather all of them, were dock workers, sailors, that type of folk. But the more charismatic kind, the kind that draw the eye, stand out in a crowd, vanishing without a trace. The other piece of information is from a fisherman who was out pretty far when there was a very bright flash of blue light by the docks. He saw something very different around the same time.
It wouldn't happen to be the size of a small city, would it?
That's about it, yeah.
I thought as much.
I don't think these people are being taken. I think they're being tempted to the sea for power. Much how some are tempted to the power of mystical weapons that they can wield by certain entities.
That is very interesting.
I think these people might be bribed to the sea with promises of power.
A calling, you say?
Indeed.
Then perhaps I should make a little appointment for you. I know someone who may know a great deal about the unknowable.
That might be worth it. We also have news of the mysterious man at the museum. It's Maldark.
Of course it is. Oh, he kind of shakes his head. I thought you took care of him.
So did we. I think, well, I know the ritual he was performing was a modified version of becoming a lich. I've asked one of the workers at the museum to look for anything small, very valuable, possibly covered in silver runes of some kind that's been missing since this mysterious man's appearance. We had an encounter with him. I don't think it's the last we've seen of him.
No, I do not think so. At this point, Kiev stops with his ledger. He pulls out another kind of sheet of parchment and begins writing.
Taking notes?
No. I am writing you what I hope will be an invitation letter.
Letter of introduction, I assume, for
yes.
The one who knows the unknowable.
The professor is quite eccentric.
Of course. One more thing. And it concerns what you and Makoto discussed. It's become relevant to more pressing matters as well.
Is that so?
Those with a band encircling their throat.
Ah, yes.
The children. Someone took them.
Yes. Word on the street, they call themselves Onroy.
Man in a golden mask.
That is one. I believe
There are two others.
that is their leader.
Makes sense.
Dark tidings this is. I hear them poking around in the Court of Glass, taking residence at the clerisy. Boris's eyes will kind of narrow.
Are we all set, by the way, for that enchantment to go in soon?
Yes, many
morning?
apologies. There have been a great strange many things happening of late. I will make sure it is done by this afternoon.
Excellent.
At this, he finishes writing his letter, folds it very neatly, making sure to crease the edges in a very straight line, pulls out a candle, drips wax, and fiddles in his pocket, pulls out a ring, slides it on, and makes an indent in the letter. Hands it over to whomever grabs it.
I'll grab it.
Okay. Yes, you should definitely speak with the professor.
Aye.
We will. One last question. What do you know of the magic of that band around the neck?
I know it takes an extraordinarily strong individual, strong of the mind, to overcome its effects. There has been rumor that there is one such person in the city.
Oh, there is.
Heh.
When your person arrives at our place of residence, let the strong of mind, have them let the strong of mind know that there is now a room that is safe to stay put and avoid prying eyes.
He looks at you, kind of nodding in understanding. This
And
can be
very
arranged.
specifically not name dropping.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the letter. I assume he gives us directions to where we're going.
Yes, of course. And it is very much in the noble quarters, and it is assigned to and he lets you know roughly where the professor resides.
One last question then. Have you ever heard of something called, and I'll say this very, very hushedly, the Hive?
He looks around the room. He shakes his head in an upward motion. Up, down. No, I have never heard of this.
Well, that's a shame. It must have just been a rumor then.
Yes, I do not know what this is, but I will make sure that this assignment is completed by this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Kiev, he lived to serve.
He does indeed. Thank you very much, Kiev. Anybody else have business?
No.
Well, aside from, I just have to say, the sooner you get the details for that job you want me to do to me, the better.
You have not received it?
No.
That is quite strange.
Oh.
When you're
I
done,
think
he says, yes, why don't you, if your time is not pressing, feel free to look around the shop. Makoto, I think there's something in the back that maybe you should see.
I think there is. And Makoto's just gonna head back that way.
Yeah, you guys have a small conversation. We'll handle that in whisper and that sort of thing.
I pretend to be browsing wares until that's done.
They're only back there a few minutes.
Out of character, I feel like this is the message that got destroyed.
Very likely.
Anything else Kiev can do for you?
No, that's. I think I'm good.
One thing of note. When you go see the professor, I would bring him gift. He likes things to bubble and sparkle.
Any recommendations?
Something expensive.
Champagne?
You think he's referring to, some sort of highfalutin alcohol.
Let's buy a liquor store on the way then. Unless you have something you'd recommend here, Kiev.
As I have many great things that bubble and sparkle, I don't think he will enjoy drinking them.
Very well, we'll stop someplace on the way. I assume that I know exactly where there's a liquor store. In the
we're not going to deal with it. However, they're going to ask for their finest bubbly. They're going to ask for 20 dragons.
As the resident alcohol expert, I will pay for that.
Nice.
And let's just say that I picked it out for funsies.
No problem. Yeah, it's just a random stop that you guys.
Did you say 20 dragons or 25 dragons?
20.
Okay.
And Shizuka just.
I'm sorry. What does Shizuka do?
She's giving like a sideways glance and going, "Are you turning into an alcoholic?"
Shizuka, he literally just what?
Turning into?
Or have you?
Something's messing with her mind.
Sorry, just can't really focus right now. And at that point, Daigo's giving her a look of what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, like your companions had started walking down the street. They're maybe 30, 40 feet ahead, and Daigo's kind of pulling at your robes, like, "Come on, master."
Oh, right, coming.
Yeah. Yeah, just as a reminder, this has been on my character sheet since the very start.
Oh, that you are an alcohol expert? Or you drink way too much?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go talk to this professor.
All right, so you guys make your way up to the noble quarter, a place that you recently started to call home, and make your way to this very large estate. Now, around the noble quarter, of course, there are topiaries and all sorts of decadence, but this estate is really opulent. It's very smooth, almost polished marble around. The outside is very much gated, as it's kind of like a stone deco kind of look. The house itself is made of a very fine hardwood. And as you guys approach up the estate, you'll see several small dogs kind of patrolling the yard.
I'm gonna approach the dogs.
Okay. They kind of look curiously at two of your party and kind of walk up to Makoto and Shizuka and just sniff. Daigo is kind of hiding a little bit behind Shizuka, and one of the dogs will circle around and kind of playfully nip at Daigo, and Daigo looks kind of expectantly up at Shizuka, like, can I?
Go play.
And then Daigo just takes off like a rocket, and the dogs, let out their little yips and kind of chase Daigo around the yard, giving you guys clear berth up to the entryway. Once you get there, the door opens. When you're within about 5 foot of it, you see a tall, slender elf dressed in almost like a butler's uniform. He looks down at you guys. He stands maybe 6'3", pretty tall and lanky, even for an elf. Can I help you?
We have 2 things for you. The first, and I'll gesture to Makoto, and his fancy ass bottle of
Makoto's gonna present the shit out of this fucking alcohol.
Oh, I see you were expected.
And the second, and I'll hand him the letter. We were informed you're knowledgeable about things unknowable.
Oh, not me. You must mean Professor Zakul.
Hell, most people here have butlers.
Fair enough. We were informed that the professor is knowledgeable about things unknowable.
I see. Well, it seems... He glances down at the bottle of champagne. All your paperwork is in order. Glances over at the seal. Come in. He leads you again into this opulent place. It rivals maybe even House Arseni, where Tiki resided.
Yep.
You can hear some commotion.
Is there a big cage with a wyvern in the center?
There is not, but
okay.
there's leather couches, finely leather-bound books, kind of exotic tapestries, stuff that's not even. It doesn't look Tantibinian, and it doesn't really even look like Dynastian. It's got some strange sort of markings on it. It's definitely not from one of these two kingdoms. If it was, the artist was just very creative and very different. But what really grabs your guys' attention is the commotion coming from one of the back rooms. You hear what sounds like the breaking of glass in that room. The butler excuses himself, walks up, opens the door, like the French style door, enough where he can get in, closes the door. You hear a small conversation, mostly just, people here to see you, sir. And you hear a loud, booming voice. Well, send them in! Yes, right away, sir. He opens the doors up very wide, and inside you see almost like... okay, so you remember Edward's kind of tinkering room?
Mm-hmm.
Think of that, but much more money and much more drive behind it. So kind of a tinker's area, maybe a bit of apothecary. You'll see tons of books and Da Vinci styled drawings spread about like an inventor, so to speak. And standing before you is about maybe 3 foot 1 inch gnome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Makoto's just gonna bow courteously.
He kind of reaches up and grabs that bottle. This one's pretty good. Come in. He wiggles over and hops up on a stool way too large for himself. He literally has to climb up it to sit down. He's dressed in a very, very formal attire. Kind of a tie hangs at his neck. For a gnome, he's got a very well-kept beard, but pretty bushy kind of sideburns that kind of blend into it. His hair is a little kind of misshapen bedhead sort of look. He pops open the bottle and leans it back as it's roughly half the size of his body, drinks a good quarter of it himself, and it's pretty good. What do you want?
We have questions about knowledge of things unknowable.
Oh my God. You've been talking to Kiev.
If I may speak a bit more plainly, we're here to ask questions about something the size of a small city that may be bribing people to the sea with promises of power.
Interesting. He kind of licks his lip to try to get every last bubble off. I don't think you want to know the answer to that.
Probably not, but there are a lot of things I don't want to know the answer to that I do need to know the answer to.
You see him look up and to the left, and he points. 3rd shelf, 7th book, from the left.
I go and retrieve said book.
It's a big, heavy book. It's maybe 8 inches wide. It's got that real heft to it. As you kind of bring it over, it's nondescript on the cover. Set it down on the table as he starts flipping through. You see all sorts of scribblings, drawings of hideous looking, almost demons would be pushing it. If a child were to see this, they would view it as a book of scary monsters. As he starts flipping through, opens it up, shows you a picture. Dagon. You see this giant mass. I don't have a picture prepared, but let me see if I can find one. A great monster dwells from the sea. He starts to recant the tale. How much am I gonna have to explain? Do you guys understand planar travel?
I mean, I know vaguely the details of it.
86th level of hell.
That's pretty far.
Yeah.
Do those count up or down?
Down.
How terrible things
When
are.
you're that deep, does it really matter?
Fair.
See if I can find a good picture. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if it'll let me copy pasta, so hold on. What do you want to know about it?
Am I right in my assumption that it's the type to tempt people with promises of power?
He kind of looks over. Looks at you, Makoto. Like form a pact?
Something like that.
Perhaps. One would have to be quite the enchanter.
Perhaps those that maybe stand out in a crowd?
Maybe. He dwells in the depths. I could see maybe some of the seafaring folk being pulled, swayed.
Well, the depths are not so deep anymore.
Considering that we have one of said monstrosities already in the bay.
Not in the bay. We have an eyewitness. The night of the lights in the sky, there was, as described as the size of a fleet of galleons out in the sea by a fisherman. Pretty far out as well.
I shared a picture in Discord, by the way.
Ah.
Disregard flow.
Oh. Yeah.
I said 86, but I meant 89th. Small detail.
Once again, when you're that deep, does it really matter?
Exactly. What's your interest in this?
We were asked to look into a few dock workers who had mysteriously vanished without a trace. Wanted to confirm a few things.
Well, if I were a smart man, and I am, I'd stay clear of this beast.
That's the plan, but that might not be an option.
What do you mean?
Well, if it's taking more and more, it might be making some kind of army. Make an attempt on taking some of the land for itself.
My best
Live this long
advice
without being paranoid
is to stay away from it. We can skip the formalities, yes?
Sure.
We all know the Lord of the Storms was taken out of that battle, yes?
Yes, and we
Yes.
also know where he is.
He looks at you, Shizuka. And where is this? You see
He's
madness almost dance across his eyes.
Well, that's not very fair. If I seem to tell you something you want to know, but you aren't really telling us what we want to know. Consider it a trade.
Are you saying
Makoto's
my
eyes.
information is not good enough?
Makoto's eyes narrow.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I will tell you where he is held, In return, you'll tell us what we would like to know.
Whispers, he just did. I asked, like, quite a few questions.
And Shizuka just whispers back, like, at this point, like, her mind is just, like, completely out of it. Like, she just says, like, well, to be honest, I haven't really been paying attention. I've had my mind on other things, especially the visions, and I've been having these headaches.
He's a bit indisposed.
I'll make a deal with you.
Hmm?
Come here.
And Shizuka just walks forward.
He seems to be fidgeting with a small jar on his desk. Close your eyes.
Okay. And she does so.
Open your mouth.
Can I insight check to see if this is something that's going to harm Shizuka?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Because, like, I will intervene if this is something.
Fair enough.
I'm going to do it in the bucket for shits and giggles.
As you see the implement that he has, it seems to be a piece of cotton on the end of a small wooden stick.
Oh, okay.
As he kind of sticks it maybe a little too forcibly, and kind of swashes it around, pulls it out. He kind of hops down off of his stool. He gets to work. A few moments later, he goes, "You can open your eyes."
Okay.
He starts to get some beakers and liquids, and he's very insistent on, "You, hand me this. You over there. I need this." He starts to mix a few things together. You guys can see the kind of a clear liquid starts to swirl in different colors. The liquid starts to bubble and fizzle, and all that's left is a little bit of salt water. The salt water, again, starts to evaporate, leaving nothing but salt behind. You speak the truth.
Of course, I don't see any reason to lie to you, as you have not lied to us at all.
I see. I did not expect this. It is Tantibus after all. I will tell you. I'll tell you everything. Dagon is not a merciful god. One could scarcely say it is a god, but ruling over an entire layer of hell certainly has its perks. As we all know, the master of the sea is mighty and powerful. Kept Dagon from invading, he did. But the master is not able to call his armies against Dagon now, can he? It is my assumption Dagon is rallying those willingly. He kind of does the verbal air quotes to his cause. My suggestion is looks you up and down. If you are a believer, I would do everything in my power to make sure Dagon does not come.
That's the plan.
I see.
But that's not really what's on your mind, is it? I see the struggles going on. Who has touched you?
Out of character, that's a loaded question. In character, she just, you're going to have to be, I need context for that.
Something is working, pulling and stretching the corners, edges, the small, squiggly places in your mind. I scarce think those who have the power to do so. If you are a true believer, I don't think it was one of the kami.
Shizuka's eyes perk up at that.
Are you familiar with the
Yes.
divergence of the elves?
Ah, you speak of the Lachey and the Shadarkai.
And if our information is correct, the Nagpa.
Nasty vulture-like creatures. Old as the world they are. Almost.
That is to whom you refer. Those who have attempted to stretch my friend's mind.
Ah. An old curse. Unfortunately, that is beyond my power. Knowledge is my domain. You want to know what happened? What caused them so much ire?
Yes, I believe we do.
The story's an old one. Take a seat. He starts to kind of pull at his beard a little bit. It is said, keep in mind this is legend, not fact. It is said that when the elves were birthed, changed, formed from the first humans to inhabit this world, they lived in peace away from the rest of humanity. Until one day, a cursed child seemed to have fallen in their midst. Many an argument and late night was spent over this child, but rear it like their own they did. Until one day, this child was found to have great power. Power that some of the other gods took notice. I'm sure you're familiar with Mikaboshi. He scans the room.
Yes.
Yes.
The names come up.
Mikaboshi did not like this child, this firstborn. So, a great battle in the shadows began. It is said Mikaboshi and Ensetsu went to war. War that stretched out and started affecting the people she started to call family. Mikaboshi drove a wedge between them, pulled them, and a great war thus began. Mikaboshi bolstering his power, and Setsu tapping on the life force of her people. But there were some who hoped to capitalize on this. 13, I believe, was their number, as he's flipping through various books as he's describing this tale. They hoped to usurp Ensetsu during this, but things did not go according to plan. Ensetsu did drive Mikaboshi back, but it was a costly one. It is said that she perished, but rose again as the mighty Queen of Ravens. Those who went against her will were cursed. Nagpa, I believe, was the name. But that's the past events. What brings us to our present entanglement? DM gets an inspiration point.
And at that, Shizuka just says, everything you've just described Well, let's just say we've been pulled into it.
In your mind, the cloudy bits of the vision start to form, and you see more of this picture. As he's describing it, it's almost as though you're there, half reliving it, like half there, half in your reality.
One as knowledgeable as yourself obviously knows what occurred 10 days ago in the sky, what fell from the sky.
And?
That which fell from the sky has been sealed, captured by the Nagpa.
And you want to break this thing apart into pieces, freeing it.
We want to free it or stop them in order to undo their sealing.
A powerful item you will need. Now, I do not know of such thing that is beyond my expertise. But surely if there's something strong enough to seal away the great king of the seas, I would venture to say there's something that might be able to be used to free him. Logically speaking, of course.
And Chizuka nods at that.
I have one other piece of information I'd like to pick your brain about. Are there other names for Mikaboshi?
Yes. There are tales. Tales not of these lands. What was the term? He actually gets up and goes to the bookshelf himself. He looks very high up on the shelf. He looks over. Who's the strongest person here? Probably Hal.
Probably.
Perhaps a boost?
Of course.
As you kind of lift him up. This gnome weighs deceptively heavy. No, I mean, not like, oh my god, he weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, but
he's heavy.
Yeah, he's hefty. Yeah.
So is he like dwarven heavy?
A very skinny dwarf.
I got a random question.
Uh-huh.
Do any of us actually have a strength above 10?
I have a 12. I have a plus 1. I think.
Yeah.
My dump stats are 8.
I have a plus 1.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm the only one with a negative in strength?
Probably.
And yet you use martial weapons?
I get to use my charisma score
Right.
for those.
He formed a pact.
Because bullshit warlocks.
So as Professor Zakul is lifted up, he pulls a book out.
And I think you might know what I'm asking, by the way, Catherine.
And DM forgot the question.
Oh, if there are other names.
Oh, yes.
Out of character, perhaps a more local name.
He starts flipping through the pages, and he starts to rattle off a few terms. No, not Bahamut. No. Vecna, I believe.
Fuckity fuck. That makes sense. I've never heard that one.
You guys would not have.
Is there... Never mind. Is there a more local name for him, by chance?
Mikaboshi.
It would be Mikaboshi? Okay. I have an idea. Half-formed. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and information. Anybody else have questions?
I just wanted to double check something. You said there were 13 of these Nagpa?
Yes, I believe that was the number.
Right then.
He kind of eyes you suspiciously.
I mean, there were 13 of them.
Drew in this chat definitely pointed that out.
And Shizuka speaks up. I actually have one important question.
Yes, what is it?
There are a group of people who have been who have a special seal on their neck that seems to act. Why are these people persecuted, and what is it that the church is that the Tenyo is trying to hide?
If you're looking for fact, I have nothing for you. If you want speculation, I have it.
That will
by
do.
the bucket.
Theory and speculation is all well and good.
He kind of looks around, and he points to a few spots in the room. He's pointing out something that you hadn't seen before, but now you can. You see arcane runes kind of etched around the corners. We're going to play that Boris is not here.
Okay.
He stayed behind to take care of so-and-so and what's his name? DM prerogative. Anyways, he's going to outwardly say, the clerisy is not what it seems. It is rumored, my speculation. It is not ruled by man. Something far older. Not as old as some, but old enough. Old enough to work its tentacles into the city to gain power. But that is just rumor. I believe this mark prevents individuals. What is the saying you say? They don't let the tabaxi out of the sack.
And Shizuka's eyes just like close at that. I see.
So, a method of quelling, possibly more
controlling the brain.
Reliable. Preventing more reliable rumors from springing up.
Perhaps. At first, I thought it was just a mark for those that they feed upon.
Ooh.
Makara just glances around. I assume based on these runes that we can speak plainly?
Yes, he will agree. And he goes back. You remember the book that you saw Dagon in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He starts to flip through.
And Shizuka just like grits her teeth and to think. They apply this mark on children now.
They apply it on those who they think won't be missed.
Very creative, the mind of a child is. He flips through. He stops on a page. Do you really want to know?
And Shizuka just stands up. I do.
I have to know.
He shows you a picture. We'll start at the bottom. You see long, flowing robes. You move up. You see a belt. Above the belt, right around, the navel.
Out of character. Where is this image?
There isn't one. I'm describing it.
Oh, okay.
However, there is one. Does everybody have the map open?
Which map?
The where Kiev's shop is.
Yeah.
I don't have it. No, I have to
Let me reopen it.
I'll reshare it.
Okay, that works too.
You see where Kiev is standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look to Kiev's right. Follow that up into a near human squid looking head.
Uh-huh.
So pissed.
So meanwhile, Hal is getting triggered.
This is bad. That's what this noise is?
Which corner is that in?
Top right.
Okay. You said Kiev's right, so I was looking on the left side of the page.
Directly to the right of Kiev's picture.
I'm assuming you're referring to the face in the jar.
No. Directly to the right of the portrait of Kiev. Now I'll put him on, it'll be to the left of Kiev's portrait.
The tentacles?
That is correct. Hal winced.
Under Hal's breath. A hive. Does he respond to that?
It is my understanding, yes, that it is a collective of minds.
Shit.
There's not much known about these, but I was able to come across the story of an adventurer of long ago. He named these illithids.
I see.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm glad no one in the party has a high score to be targeted with.
No, that makes it worse.
Wait, in what way?
Out of character ways.
Oh, okay. In which... So wait, are you telling me that they mark these kids to be eaten?
They mark the children so they won't speak of what they see.
And if they attempt to, that triggers...
It triggers pain. Immense pain. They distort reality around it. Essentially, they prevent the children from being able to say what they've seen without collapsing in agonizing pain, being brought to the clerisy for healing, and never being seen again, most likely.
Like, Shizuka is actually looking visibly angry. Like, to the point where her hand is shaking.
Thank you, Professor, for the information. We have more.
Yes. I could use a bit of a lie down.
Although, now I guess to be fair, we owe you a few answers, because you did give us a surplus of information.
Do you have any other questions you wish for us to answer?
You're asking Zakul?
Yeah.
I am curious. Why so much interest in all this?
Well, would you like the short answer or the long?
Well, perhaps give me the interesting one.
Interesting. Alright, let's see. Well, first...
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Zuka?
Indeed. And Shizuka just, like, brushes, like, her hand over her head and just, like, reveals and, like, just drops the illusion. As you can see, we're not quite from here.
Kitsune, I believe your species is called?
Yes.
Well, that wasn't a word I was expecting to hear from a local.
Who says I'm local?
Touché.
A great many things I have seen in this world in my travels.
We were a bit closer than most people would probably like to be to lights battling in the sky, as people have been calling it.
Ah, you were the group giving Maldoc so much trouble.
Yeah, also about him. Not quite dead. Mostly dead? Mostly dead.
Now a lich, probably.
You speak of a dark power, a pact with a great one. Lichdom.
Yes.
Yep.
I will only give you one bit of advice. To become a lich, it is rumored one has to forsake the corporeal form, and they entrust it in something magicked and hardened. Find his phylactery.
On the docket, we have feelers out. Have some ideas.
Well, do be careful. I hear there's quite a tale of banditry going on down in the lower levels.
Oh, yeah. The bandits. We've had a few run-ins with them.
Also, it's been bothering me a bit, but I can't help but notice you've been looking at me every time you say the word pact.
I, too, know what it's like to rely on someone else's strength.
I had a feeling that was the case.
Knowledge of things unknowable.
Yes, something like that, yes.
That one always speaks in riddles.
Be careful whom you make pacts with.
I take it the pact you made was not one that worked out well for you?
Oh, quite the contrary. But I was referring to this poor fisherman.
Yes.
Hi.
Well, if there's nothing else, I could use a lie down. I was up quite late last night.
Very well.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you for your time, Professor.
Have a pleasant afternoon nap.
You're welcome. And the next time you see that scallion Kiev, tell him his ass owns me. Owes me. Slip of the tongue.
Okay.
I'm going to attribute that slip of the tongue to the alcohol.
Perhaps.
This out of character. This campaign seems to have gotten gayer.
I know. I have felt we had to gay up this episode a little bit.
Also, he called him a scallion. It's an onion.
Did he mean rapscallion? Dang it.
Probably, but also it's way funnier that he said
right?
scallion.
Two faux pas in one sentence? Oh man, how did that happen?
Also, Kiev really is like an onion. He's got layers.
Next, we're gonna find out that Kiev's been an ogre in disguise this whole time.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. All right. He gets to work and starts mixing a few chemicals. A little good night potion. He kind of drinks it, and you can see him just
Before we leave the magic circle, I'll whisper to everybody else. I think there is an off chance that in addition to the hive of Illithid, the magical power actually comes from, what was the guy's name again? The super evil god guy?
Dagon?
No. That's a...
Mikaboshi?
Yeah.
Vecna?
I think there's an off chance that the magics here, the divine magics, are through Mikaboshi.
Really? I never would have guessed.
Could be.
Mikado just rolls his eyes.
And Shizuka just like rubs the back of her head, reapplying the illusion.
Which, like, would cause there to be divine magics available.
Tantibus, city of secrets.
Would also explain Boris's aversion to healing.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I know.
hope.
Yeah, no, that was 100% a joke.
Yeah, and that
Shizuka
weird
just-
right hand in his eye.
And Shizuka just like grumbles like, we're going to pay the church a visit, I believe.
I think we'll need to be a bit subtler than that.
That was the plan in the first place.
And if I do see the evidence, or if I somehow detect it, I'm blowing it up.
That's not what I meant by subtlety.
That's the opposite of subtle.
A little bit the opposite of subtle.
And you saw what happened last time I tried to force my magic to go wild, right?
Yeah, please don't do that again.
Why, if it gets rid of the problem?
Zuka,
Hmm?
didn't I tell you what happens when there's a power vacuum?
Right. So I'm blowing up the vacuum.
That's not how it works.
There is certainly a struggle going on behind the scenes in this city. I think you guys have gone quite far down the rabbit's hole.
Yeah, there are now multiple factions of extremely terrifying that work here.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a good idea what's up with the clerisy now.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and I'll let you guys break the news to Boris next time if you decide to tell him.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'll pass.
That's why I pulled him out.
That's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be awesome. Better Boris than Petrovich.
Oh god, yeah.
I feel like if we told Petrovich, I'd have to have a sword ready just to block the incoming attack.
Right?
Yeah. Have fun with that now, having a strength of 22 on his end. Because of a belt that I gave him.
I mean,
Mistakes were made, in case that was unclear.
if it makes you feel better, it's only a modifier. The difference in modifier is only a 2 in that case.
Yeah, true. Alrighty then. What to do? Go home, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything else we can do at this stage?
We can wait for Kiev at the house.
Yep.
Maybe run into him.
Yes.
Test out the new anti-scrying, or what's it called, warded room, etc.
So, as you guys make your way back, Kiev's person definitely is there finishing up the quote-unquote install. It looks like he contracted one of the members of a local kind of mages guild that likes to do kind of side jobs, you assume, if he's working with Kiev. He's finishing up the incantations and is pretty much getting ready to leave out the door when you guys arrive.
I was actually gonna say, before we left, Shizuka would have whistled to like beckon Daigo to her.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, Master, that was so much fun. We have to come back.
We will. We will.
Can't wait.
And she'll just like give him a treat.
Oh, good Doge.
As we're getting back to the mansion, I will greet the person and say, I assume you're the, you were doing the upgrade?
Yes. Don't worry about payment. I've already been paid, but you think you will find everything in order.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
A good day to you all.
And to you.
Though you may want to look after your friend. He looks rather rough.
He is indeed not doing great, but we will. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think your comrade has smoked maybe 3 packs since I've been here.
Yes, he's nervous smoker.
Yes. Anyways, good day.
Out of character, I thought I was bad.
All right, you are back. Everything seems to be in order, though I don't think anybody has... Shizuka might be able to check with an arcana.
Blind?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me just close this.
I mean, next level we can also have Boris check by trying to scry on the room with 4th levels.
True. Shizuka kind of goes to work looking at the craftsmanship. You don't see anything that would make you doubt the authenticity or the working order of these glyphs, of these arcane runes.
Alright. And she's gonna say, well, they look alright, but without any way of actually testing it.
We can work on it. We can work on a way to test. By the way, I'll look around for a sound.
Should have asked if there was soundproofing with those runes. Yeah, just divination.
I mean, that one we can test. I go into the room, shut the door, and yell really loud.
No, there's no soundproofing of sorts, but as you guys are in a large estate, it would take someone to have infiltrated into your estate, ear against the door sort of thing. A freaking ninja.
Well, for comedic effect, Mako's ears are just full back like, you didn't have to do it that loud.
Hey, you were asking if it was soundproof. How would you even know if I was yelling? If it was soundproofed?
I can hear you talking at a normal volume from the next room over, Hal.
Good point.
Dago walks over to you and just tries to bite your ankle.
Aw.
I will also, 1, find Asao, and then 2, work on setting up a cot in there. So Asao can comfortably rest knowing that he is safe from prying eyes, etc. Any kind of location. Or locating spells, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I will...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll also tell Asao, there's no more need to fight what's around your neck. We've figured out what you were trying to tell us. We've figured out the rest.
And we'll make sure the kids are returned safe.
We'll try. I don't know if we'll be able to, but we'll do everything we can.
Asao kind of wrestles in his kind of half consciousness, and as you kind of set him down in the cot, he very quickly almost stands up, but sits up and is kind of halfway out of the cot, and he goes, I remember